that full, so that rotation of the elbow should come from here. So you can see here, this line of my wrist. Now this won't be the same for everybody, but the rotation I want to happen just as much at the elbow as it does. So I can just turn my wrist here and nothing really happens. So I really want to push across from that elbow and then open up. And same thing over. You can use the line of that camera just to see whether you get that push across in the helix from the ulnar and radius. Slightly less on my left-hand side. A little bit tighter in my elbow. Straight arm across the body. Really reach across, ribcage down, up past your ear. There is a little bit of shoulder blade involved here, so you can start to elevate the shoulder, then rotate from the shoulder, stretch behind. I can just hear the noises coming from my bathroom as my partner changes my son some strange noises across here. In fact, I'll show you from the back as we come up and across. It's okay just to elevate just that little bit, rotate. Same on the other side, across the body. Stretch through those fingers. Across the body. Up, not from the rib cage, from the shoulder. So my rib cage stays down. Stretch behind, rib cage down. Rotate, keep rotating as you come up and through. Elevate the shoulder blade and back down. Okay, we'll come back to spine right at the end. Lying down on your side, one arm out, two arms out if you want to, or plays around in the hip. Now, shoulder, hips together, tuck, tailbone just a tiny bit in towards the chest, shorten that tissue on the front. Open up like a dog having a belly stretch. Stay tucked with the spine and that you don't roll over onto your back. Internally rotate. Keep internally rotating as you kick back. Keep kicking back as you then lower down. And I want you just to stay here. Other arm out. Reach that forward. And then just take a couple of breaths. With each exhale, deflating the top leg down to the floor. Position of that rib cage, not flared out. Last breath. Bring it through. Open up. Internally rotate. Unload that spine just a little bit. Keep internally rotating as you jog back. Lower down. And in the reverse. Back, open. Because you've got good experience of this system today, we'll really take our time with this, and then it will come thick and fast. After that, with focus today on transitions, things that we just haven't really done before. Certainly not in that order. Finishing with some bigger movements at the end, squats, Cossack squats, that kind of thing. But using those techniques and terminology from the mobility that we do. Tucked, in, open, really push to the edge there. Feel the difference between one leg and the other. Internally rotate. Don't come out of that tucked position. Keep internally rotating as you kick back. Keep that ribcage down. Lower down as far as you can before you feel like you're getting pulled up. And then just take a couple of breaths here. Through. Back the other way, up and over the gate. Stay tapped. I do knees open chain today. Hello. So lying on your back, lower back into the floor. Also an opportunity just to get control of that rib cage again. One knee up, 90 degrees. And then you've got that twisted or rotating. So the knee doesn't come in and out. It stays here. All right. And then you're rotating the shin. So you could hold like we do when we're here. The difference is now you don't have that purchase point into the floor, but you can still work it. External rotation, use this hamstring. Pull in. Internally rotate from the shin. Extend. Not all the way to straight. So don't worry if your hamstring is on fire. Just go to where you feel comfortable. External rotation of the shin again. Keep fighting for more external rotation. As you pull in, pull in, pull in, you'll really feel that hamstring. Internal, back. Then in the reverse, internal, external, internal, external. For somebody who does have a lot of experience with this, just through doing the class, but also hopefully that you've introduced this into your own daily practice as well. Finding new positions to keep it interesting. Not a bad idea. Internal, external, hamstring, in, and then both ankles at the same time, lower back into the floor. No big movement from the knee now, stay at 90 degrees. Simultaneous circles or one at a time, doesn't matter. Again, you're getting a little bit of breathing work here. Sitting up, point toes, pull them in as soon as they touch the floor. That's you. All right, looking down your feet, big toes up, big toes down, little toes up, little toes down, big toes up, big toes down, all toes up. Give them a spread. That's pretty good for me actually. Up, down, big toes down, little toes up. Really try and keep that tripod so that you haven't rotated in. Switch, all toes up, and then little toes down first, a little bit of a spread. Okay. Ooh, horrible hornet. We'll start as we have been doing. What I did last week actually. So just a couple of those, that breathing. Okay. So I want to get control of the rib cage. Thumb and forefinger, giving the lower ribs a bit of a squeeze here. All right. If you need your head supported, that's fine. What we're trying to get, I can't do this. Here we go. Hey. Oh, that's a bit pale, isn't it? Well, anyway, so you can see that I'm not increasing the gap between the floor and my back, but I want you to have a little look at this rib cage now. If I breathe high in my chest, see how these bones are being pulled upwards, then that pulls me into that sort of extension pattern. And that high breathing, I have to use a lot of neck stuff, which is fine, is a strategy that sometimes you might need, but you don't need it all the time, all right? You want to use a bit more of the stuff down here, all right? So as I breathe now, slowly through my nose, pushing the tongue into the top of my mouth. And then traveling downwards. As I breathe in again, I don't want to see this rib cage coming upwards. So if anything, it stays flat and you feel the diaphragm pulling downwards, pulling air in. Same thing on the way out, trying to get that rib cage to come in and down. One thing of feedback that you can take is my lower back into the floor? Do I have contact with the floor? It doesn't have to be driving down, okay, but definitely contact with the floor and that feeling of the ribcage traveling down towards your hips. Right, if you haven't already, let's do 3 more breaths, okay? Then we'll do a loaded version of that. Breathe in. Breathe out. Can be quite a forceful breath out, certainly further than you would normally breathe. Leave your ribcage where it finished there. Breathe in again through the nose. Breathe in last time. Notice how that when you breathe out, just by getting a full exhale, that musculature in the ribcage has to contract. All right, so it doesn't need to be like red as a beetroot in the face. So when we're asking for this breath of breathe in, lock the ribcage down when we use it in the Kinstretch thing, that's what it is. Okay, so it's breathe out, get that ribcage set, leave it where it is. You may be able to take another breath, and then you can start building up that irradiation of building up that tension in the rest of the body, so you can take more powerful pails and rails, etc. Right. Next, breathing. Arms in the air, palms facing the ceiling. We've got elbows sort of pointing up towards the ceiling, and that's bringing that scapula, those shoulder blades around the rib cage. The same breath in through the nose, forcefully out, rib cage comes down. You may get a little cramping in the upper back now, and then from there, in between breaths, you're just going to reach over the shoulder one side, the other side, come back, and then take another breath. Lower back should stay in the floor the whole time. Here we go. Breathe in. Elbows sort of going, stretching towards the ceiling. Breathe out. Reach. Reach. Breathe in. Reach. 1, 2, last breath. Ribcage going down, 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 down. And last time, reach. Okay, so that's freed us up a little bit there. Now for a little sequence that just gets a bit of best practice into the hips, all right? So we start 90-90, as we know and love, all right? Your friend and mine. And I just want to take your time in getting into a very sort of comfortable position that you can find a stretch in the back of the front hip. So in this instance, it's my left, but I'm not having to force myself into the most extreme position, okay? The reason I'm asking for that rather than pushing load is because I want the sensation to be in the hip, all right? So as soon as you're feeling that stretch in the hip, that's fine. Then can you get that rib cage to breathe? Can you get it to go down? Again, maybe I shouldn't this. Because I have a rib that misbehaves, right? It's this one. So it sticks out a little bit. But through breathing, I can get it to come down and behave. So that's kind of on this side, that's what I'm looking for. You can see if I go into extreme position, that rib is sticking out. That's not what I want. So for me, I know that I need to be out here a little bit. I can control that rib cage. And then I can then start playing around with those 3 checks, that tilting out, the belly button forward, okay? And I can actually find the stretch that I want in the front leg now, but without having to worry about having to hold myself in this really extreme position. Whereas I haven't got any more sensation in my hip, but what I have got is a lot more sort of stretching and forcing of position elsewhere in my body, like my lower back and stuff. I think that's taking me away from the intention of just training my hip. All right, out to the side, rib cage down, and you get that nice breath. We're going to think about that circle in our mind. We're going to go for pails and rails on this front leg. So with a steering wheel in your mind, take a breath in. You found that nice stretch, but you shouldn't be really like holding yourself up too much. Even if you need to be out here, that's fine. Tilt, belly button forward, shunting the hips backwards. Take a breath in and start to push that front foot down into the floor. Okay, it's a very specific 10, 20% effort. Definitely right hand down into the floor if your left foot forward. And it's loading specifically those tissues in the back of the hip. Nothing else is taking in too much tension because we're very, very specific about loading both through that passive positioning and now the force down into the floor. Up to 60% now. We're going to do 2 rounds of this. We'll do a higher one in a second. Hold for 10, 9, still down into the floor. That rib cage down. 3, 2, we switch that down. Left hand down on the wheel now. Knee feels heavy as you try to lift that foot. All right, but it's lifting that foot by contracting outside hip. It's a weird thing to think of, but again, try not to change positioning with the torso. Keep lifting up to 60%. Hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, dial down. Now, because of that force that's gone in now, we may have got access to a little bit more passive, all right? So it may mean that now you can move into a more extreme position, say upright, if that's what feels good, okay? But without having to really wedge yourself in because the hip's given up a little bit more room. So I can now sit here a little bit more upright and comfortable without having to really push, okay? Second round, let's go from this angle. Breathing that rib cage down, circling my mind. Keep that stretch on the outside hip. Here we go, 10%, foot down, 20. We're gonna go quite fast now, 30, 40. Once we get to 60, we can then start pushing our hands down into the floor a little bit more, bringing tension through the rest of the body. 60, 80, as I really now start to ramp up some of that tension in here in the back leg as well. 80 for 5, 4, 3, quick as a flash, 2, 1, lift. Try and lift that foot up, contract on the outside of the hip. Keep lifting up to 80%. Left hand down on the wheel. 3, 2, 1, dial down. Take that last passive. What's that hip now? What's that tissue now given up to you? Does it more upright? Does it mean more or less pressure into the floor for your hands so you can sit there? Okay. Okay. I'm going to take a transition to the other side. All right. So it's going to open back leg as much as you can. Keep these knees repelling each other now as you come through. You can tuck the tailbone and hands behind, sit on your bum. And then internal. Sorry about the reflectiveness. And then internal. Same thing. Let's find passive stretch on here. Now, this is my stickier hips. I'm a lot further out in order for me to be in a relaxed position with my thorax. But I find that that means that I can be a little bit more specific with the stretch I'm trying to find in that front leg because I'm not so concerned about staying in this extreme position where now it's pulling into my upper or lower back. So find a couple of breaths there now. I don't think we need to keep my pasty torso, do we? But hopefully looking at my ribs there was helpful in some way. Keep going with that passive. Take a breath in. Loading specifically that tissue on the outside of your hip. Drive the foot down, left hand down on the wheel. Be quite slow with my ramping here, otherwise I do too much work with this back leg and I go into cramp. Let's get it up to 40, 50. There we are, 60. Ribcage is being breathed down. It just makes it so much better for my hip here, not having to fight those other positions. And then I can be very specific about bringing in the rest of my body to help in that direction, not just creating tension for the sake of it. It's probably something I haven't been so good at over the weeks. 5, 4, foot down, 3, 2, quick as a flash, foot up now, contract this side, outside. Notice I haven't pulled myself into a more extreme position. I'm very specifically contracting outside of my hip. And the idea is to try and get that foot off the floor. It won't come, all right? But that knee is driving down. It's right hand down on the wheel. Rotation, femur rotating to the outside, up to 60. 5, 4, 3, dial down, don't move a muscle, but just take away the tension. Then go through your 3 checks. Stick your tailbone out, belly button forward, and then think about maybe shunting the hips backwards. And you may be able to find that hip is just given up a little bit more passive room. Now it knows that you're going to create force there. All right, it's safer. But you won't have had to really, it's what the hip's given up, not what you force yourself into here. So here should be statuesque, still fairly relaxed. Let's go to 80%, take a breath in. Rib cage down, start to drive that foot, load the outside of this hip. 30, 40, keep 50, left hand down, it's very specific. 5, 4, 80%, 3, 2, switch, lift up, contract on that outside. 50, 60, keep that very specifically in mind. Contract outside, contract outside, contract outside. Bring the rest of the body with you now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, dial down. Go through those last passive checks. Okay. A transition into bear sit in the middle. All right. Open, open, open. Other knee comes when it needs to. We end up in bear sit. A few breaths here. Now, if you're more comfortable with a cushion, it's fine. All right. What I'd love is to be able to pull into those hips enough for you to go ribcage down, but not be like a sack of spuds. If this is the only thing available to you, that's fine, because you can still set the intention. In fact, the rules of this system mean that you could work from this flexion position. I just happen to want it to be as upright and as neutral as possible there. That's my constraints for the exercise. Hands behind might enable you that, or sitting on something, and then you can just tilt forward, all right? Spend a bit of time just finding a nice comfortable position for you. So we did external rotation there of the hip, knee out, opening hips outwards, all right? Let's do some hovers and stuff using that idea, all right? So the setup is either here, 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 whatever you need to do in order to create the tension before we start moving one leg in and out, doing some hovers, etc. Okay, so we're going to work right leg first. I'm going to pull myself into as much bear sit as I can handle, accessing this tissue now as well. All right, I may have one hand on the floor. This hand is, an arm is opening and keeping that leg as open as possible. All right, I take a breath in. I think about external rotation, okay, of what we just did on the floor, and I'm trying to get that foot higher than my knee. All right, using this stuff here. That's 1 for me. You go now, ready, 2, 1, externally load out here. It's definitely that movement, okay? Hold for 1 to 3 seconds, place down again. Take a breath. Toes pulled up, externally rotate the hip. Place down. If you think, okay, well, that's fairly easy, I'm getting good contraction there, go for something that's a little bit less stable. One hand on, no hand on leg, both hands off, open left and lift. all the while maintaining that shape, okay? That's how you make it harder. Last one, take a breath. Open left, externally rotate right. Relax. Same thing on the left, open, ribcage down, pull in, down. Now it can easily just look like this, closing. Definitely want that rotational element, all right? So even if it looks like this, you can say, Matt, I'm definitely trying to rotate there rather than just close my legs. Number 4. 3, open. Not able to create enough open this side. 2. 1. Relax. Just come into position 3 here. Oh. Okay. More hover. This time, lift and then out straight. Lift and then in. Okay, so right leg first. The external lift that we just did. Keep that foot as high as you can. Straighten the leg, height, height, height. Place down. Hands where you need them. Lift. Pull in. Hamstring, hamstring, hamstring. Open. We're going to tails and rails against there. So lean away. Stretch into here. Lift that leg up to create the tails contraction across. Just doing one of these. I'll take it to its safest effort and then actively try and drive it and open down into the floor. Ready, and lift that knee up into the resistance. Just this stuff. Try not to go too extreme with the back. Three, 2. Actively try and open up into the floor now. 2, 1. Relax. Stay in this position. This leg wants to stay as close onto the floor as possible. If you're not quite there yet, something underneath to give it a little bit more purchase. Okay. We're focusing on this leg, coming back to center, back out to straddle, maintaining open as much as we can here. Lift. Down. Lift. How many have you got those? Shoot. Lift. Straight leg. Lift. You can see what happens if I don't use any arms. Take a breath, contract all this stuff, compress. I should stay straight there. I had to leave over to the side. Okay. Now, hands back into the middle. We'll swap legs. So, externally rotate, trying to get distance between the foot and the floor. You need to lean back, that's fine. Past bear sit. Lock out. Place down. Lift. 3 bear sit. Butterfly. First thing we got to do is get this leg closer to the floor. Tails and rails. Hand, lean. We definitely want it across these tissues, not just into the low back. Wait, sure I need to lean against it. 2, 1, lift the knee into that resistance. You can see how this stuff is linked to that low back. You're lacking the room here and the mobility. Kind of got to find it elsewhere. Lifting up, 4, 3, 2, 1, and actively open down into the floor. Should have worn a hat. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Hovers. Keep open this side. Lifting leg through till 12 o'clock. Here we go. Lift. Lift. Two. Put my hands down to make it better for me. Breathe that rib cage down. Lift. Last one. Lift. Lift. Okay. Back towards this one. Out towards straddle. Okay. Now we're just going to do a double lift in. A little bit of stuff on internal rotation. We're going to start shoulders there as well. All right. So either bring one leg in at a time, nice and slow, or as I'm about to do, go for the double in. Point toes, sit tall, push into the floor, big breath. Breathe that ribcage down. Breathe again. Lift. Internal to 90-90. Right, we're going to ask you to rotate into a little bit of internal passive here, and then start going through these shoulders again, okay? A little bit of bang for your buck, opening up a little bit of stuff here. At the same time, working through shoulder. If you think, oh, I've got a chance here, it's sitting upright, rotated on, bring that leg in, that's fine. As little hands on the floor as possible. Last one. Same on the other side. Passive, a little bit of a tuck. One. 2. I'm gonna bring it in now, see if I can sit. It's not ideal. Last one. Okay, so the dreaded frog position. Knees wider than hips. Big toes into the floor if possible. okay? That's where we're going to do the shoulders from, all right? First of all, though, as we're here, just going to get some passive range lift-offs for internal rotation of the shoulder. So push up, take a breath in, push left foot down into the floor, try and elevate back foot or the right foot off, internally rotate, take a breath, place down, set it up on the other side, drive the right foot down, internally rotate, so think about contracting all that stuff around your jeans pocket, internal, spend a second and then try and fight for a bit more, back down, take a breath, try and lift both rib cage down. Oh. 2, 1. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. Straight arm out. Take a breath. Head down. Lift the straight arm into a Y shape. Thumb pointing up towards the ceiling. T shape, thumb still pointing up. Rotate that thumb now. Emprocommodus. Keep rotating back of the hand to face the ceiling. Bring the arm in towards the middle. Hinge. Lower back. Relax. Elbow towards the ceiling. Shoulder pulled back. Hover the hand out of the lower back. Extend at the elbow. Rotate. Go through the T shape. Thumb towards the ceiling. Y shape. Place down. Looking for movement through that spine, rib cage. All right, if you have access to a yoga block, you could put that underneath your sternum. The idea is just to not increase or decrease pressure. Okay, could be anything. Other side. Oh, I'm sweating. Take a breath. Left arm out. Elevate. Y shape. T shape. Gladiator thumb in towards the middle. Hinge. Relax. Elbow high. Out of the back. Elbow straight. Rotate. T shape. Y shape. Down. Okay. Out of frog. Wow. That's hot. Okay. I'm going to work on some deep squat. Now, for me, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this without sitting on something. All right. So a couple of cushions may do it for you. I could fold this. Is that going to do it for me? Probably not. Probably fold it a bit more. All right, I'm in a deep squat position now. I'm actually going to use that brick, but the idea is to be able to sit with a nice straight back. All right. First of all, we're going to do some pails and rails. Just the one brick. So pails and rails in this deep position. Yeah. So I'm taking as much weight as I can into my lower body. And I'm using that brick to help me. There we go. Okay, so feet or hands under feet. All right, that anchors me. The pails movement is to drive my feet into the floor and imagine I'm trying to stand up out of the hole. All right. You can see I could do with a little bit more ankle flexion here. My rails compression is to be going down into the floor. So contracting this stuff, pulling down into the object that you're sitting on. All right. So these are going to suck. High force, 3 rounds. And then we start doing some shoulders from this position. Then we'll put it all together into one movement. All right. Take a breath, anchor yourself underneath your feet. You can do this sat in a chair as well. Take a breath in. Breathe that ribcage down. Leave it down, breathe in again. Drive your feet down into the floor. Trying to lift the chest up. It's almost like you're trying to stand up off the floor. 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull down into the, you should get now increase pressure. Pull into the hip flexors, try and increase pressure into your bum. Pull up with this stuff. 3, 2, 1. Relax. Should more easily sit on wherever you're sitting now. Same again. Ready? And pushing down. 3, 2, 1. Pull. And relax. Oh, it's in my shins. Driving down into the floor as if you're trying to get out of the squat hole, pulling into it, upwards with the shins, upwards with the back, hip flexors. Here we go, underneath. Drive. 2, 1, pull. Try and lift your feet up off the floor. 2, 1, okay. Stand. Hopefully that made sense. Oh, I'm sweating. Hot. Right. Squat, yada, yada, yada. So down on your object again. Yeah. Position Y shape. Lift. Rotate. Opposites. One hand on the back of the ear. One hand in the lower back. Open. Try and lean forward into the hole as much as you can. Open. Through the middle. Where was I? Oh. Okay. Five kinetic squats. So what that means is taking into a sort of traditional gym pattern, squat, lunge, anything really. And then just using some of these mobility techniques. Oh man. So thinking about regressive and progressive tissues in and out of those squats. So we're going to take 5 seconds to find the bottom of your squat. As we go down, we're thinking about regressive tissue, hip flexors, hamstrings, and shins pulling you into the hole. You're going to hold for 5 seconds at the bottom of your position, and then you're going to take 5 seconds to come up using progressive tissue. So that's haunches, quads, calves. All right, slow squats. Feet into your squat position, arms out, big breath in, breathe ribcage down, breathe in again, feel that pressure, and start to squat, pull with the hip flexors, pull up with the hip flexors, shins, 4, 3, 2, hold that bottom position, still pulling upwards, 4, 3, 2, drive into the floor, 4, 3, this stuff, carbs, hit the top and pull, 5, 4, pull with your shins, 3, 2, 1, pull down, 4, 3, 2, 1, switch, progressive, drive, 4, 2, 1, hit the top and pull, knees up, hip flexors, hamstrings. It's almost like I'm scuffing on the floor. 3, 2, 1. Allow my knees to get pulled forward, hit the top, and 4. 1, 4, 3, 2, drive. Last one, and pull. And out. Now, the idea will be, where possible, to squat down into the hole and then do some shoulder movements, but freestanding, okay? What can I say here? I am not gonna look great, all right? So you wanna feel stable, you wanna feel like you can complete a decent shoulder rotation, okay? So if that means you have to sacrifice depth here, then absolutely fine, all right? So squat base position, what you could do is squat down to that object, take as little of the weight of your body or put as little as you can into the block and then do it. You might do that as a bit of a guide, all right? So I'm gonna go right arm first when I'm in the bottom. Feet shoulder apart or into your squat position. Take a breath and and stand. Oh my God. Now I used a little bit of the block there. I say a little bit, quite a lot. So we'll try and do it without, probably means I won't be able to get as low. My God, that's hard. All right. 2 more attempts, 2 more bits of shoulders. All right. No block. Here we go. And No block from that. I don't know what to say about that shoe. It's just hard. I think by the time you get to something that complex, you're hoping that having broken down some of the individual components, rotation, then hip flexion and stuff, and then trained those with very, very high forces. Once you start putting them into complex patterns, that you can just rely on having the hardware to do it. I know that kind of sounds like a bit like a cop-out because you are supposed to be thinking about what you're doing, but you can definitely be in a position where you're overthinking all the time. And is that overthinking because you just don't have the hardware to perform these well without thinking, if that makes sense? Okay, last one. Pull into the hip flex, pull yourself into the whole hamstrings, shins. Up. My God, that's the hardest thing I've done mobility-wise for a long time. Wow. Should have put some suntan cream on. Yeah. Good, man.
Yeah.
Right. Whew. That's hard, right?
Yep.
Okay, my man. It's great to see you.
Yeah, great to see
Hopefully.
you. Thank you, man.
No worries, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming along. It's got me out. It's got me doing something. I've now got to paint some garden furniture, so the jobs don't stop.
Okay.
Hopefully see you next week, my man. All right?
Yeah, dude. Okay. All right. Have a nice day. Cheers.
All right. Bye.
Bye.